alone and I'm alive.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
And I'm VAWLS JP.
And we are back to keep you guys up to date on this search for a defensive coordinator. But before we get into that, as always, make sure you go ahead and smash that thumbs up. Just hit that like button right down below. We would greatly appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out when we do random videos or live streams. If you stay subscribed, you won't miss out. And it also helps the channel. So we do appreciate you guys for continuing to support the Talkin VAWLS Network. But let's get into it. Man, it's been a crazy week, JP. We've kind of bounced around from Al Washington to Blake Baker, which, again, that was Jimmy Himes, not really anybody else. But then a lot of steam got put behind Casey Rogers. But before we get into all that, let's kind of talk about the big news yesterday. That's Rodney Garner was in Knoxville and put pen to paper to become a defensive assistant.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a tremendous hire. Kind of odd when you really look at it from the outside, considering that we don't have a defensive coordinator, but anytime that you can get somebody like Garner on your staff, I definitely think that any defensive coordinator is going to be excited about that for sure. Garner's got a huge reputation, just an excellent recruiter. Was going back and looking at some of his stuff. I think it was the mid to late 90s that he spent a couple of years in Knoxville. I mean, really right when Tennessee was and Fulmer had them rolling. Maybe 96, 97. I know he heavily recruited Georgia. Has a huge presence in the state of Georgia. Got several big time kids back then. Jamal Lewis. Cozy Coleman, those type of players, NFL players. He ended up getting those kids to, at the time, to come to Tennessee. Certainly, the program was in a different spot than it is now, but Garner has always had that reputation of being a very, very good recruiter, and I definitely excited about him. And, he's also a really good coach too, so seems obviously to be able to relate really well to those kids. So I think that is definitely a plus hire for Josh Heupel. I think that gives him a little bit of some, I guess, positivity as far as folks saying, well, he's basically just bringing in staff from UCF and so forth like that. Rodney Garner is somebody that has SEC experience. I think he's coached in the league for 20 or 30 years, something like that, Boogie.
Yeah, over 30 years of SEC experience. And like you said, it's just a big-time hire. And you can run down the list of guys that he's put in the league. And, just the fact that he is a recruiter, he's a developer of talent. But again, like you said, 30 years SEC experience. And do you think you kind of mentioned it a little bit there while you were talking? We've heard all along that this defensive staff, we're going to be waiting on a defensive coordinator before this defensive staff starts to take shape. But do you think this is a judgment call? Like Rodney Garner was going to be on this staff all along. He was going to be on it all along. But Danny White and Josh Heupel thought they were going to march out there Wednesday at the basketball game and have this big hoopla celebration. But the Cards, they fell where they fell. And they're putting this out there now. Hey, let's just go ahead and sign it, get it done. Because if you're not on board with Rodney Garner being on this staff, then you're crazy. And so I think it's let's calm down and give us some time to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that probably plays something into it because, I feel like Tennessee definitely would have liked to have had a defensive coordinator hired by now. I know we got some comments about our video the other day, a few of them, telling, kind of saying that we were crazy, that, it was okay if we didn't have a defensive coordinator until right at the start of spring practice and stuff like that. And I kind of just laughed. I was just like, then you might as well not even go through spring practice if you're basically bringing in your defensive coordinator right right when spring practice starts. I mean, the sooner that they can get a defensive coordinator and they can get this staff together, then, they're going to have staff meetings. They're going to have to decide, okay, here's our roster. Here's who we think can, play here. They're going to watch film, all of that kind of stuff. So, I'm not saying go out here and just hire just whoever, just so that you can have a defensive coordinator. But I don't think that there's anybody that's going to deny that it's been a bit of a struggle here with this. And we'll see what Casey Rogers does. Obviously he's from Tennessee, played at Tennessee. I think Brent Hubbs was reporting there last night that the Tennessee position would be the only position that he would come back to college for. But it sounds like that he's certainly, weighing those pros and cons. And, does he want to leave the comforts of the NFL and, not having to worry about, recruiting and, kind of babysitting these kids and stuff like that. So, if he ultimately decides to come to Tennessee, I'll be happy with that and excited for it. But if he's not, 100% committed as far as the recruiting aspect of it goes, then I'm not sure that he's the best hire then, Boogie.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that too. And I saw some people saying, I can't remember if it was VolQuest or in the comment section, you don't have to recruit. We'll just surround him with recruiters. Well, you need to surround him with recruiters, but you can't just say the defensive coordinator doesn't have to recruit. He has to recruit. That is part of the job. It's part of the gig. You got a big time linebacker, defensive lineman, defensive back, whatever. You want to be able to send in your defensive coordinator to seal the deal. And yeah, it helps having that big Super Bowl ring on your finger. You can come plop down on the couch and say, hey, I know what it takes to get to the league. That's huge, but you got to be willing to do that. The thing about Casey Rogers that's interesting to me, and, you can lay out all the things you just said. He's not coached in college since I think it was 2002. Mm-hmm. Does he want to come back to the college game? He especially when there are rumors that he could be getting promoted, coming up within the next year or two. But for me, listening to Swain talk about this, and again, we're not experts, we're not insiders, but look, I listen to guys that are, and we try to bring all that information to you guys in 10 to 15-minute lumps, because some people don't have 3 hours a day to listen to Swain on the radio. Unfortunately, I have no life. I do. I listen to every day, all day, and then we bring it to you guys. But what Swain was saying was, it was back when everybody thought that Al Washington was done. Like there was no chance Al Washington was coming here. And he kind of threw out, well, if it was me, I'd bring both. I'd call them both co-defensive coordinators. And he's like, I'm not saying that happens, but I would pick up the phone and give it a try. And then he kind of goes on talking about the pros and cons of Al Washington versus Casey Rogers. And he said if he had to bet, he would say there is no way, it's either one or the other. And the reason why I put some steam behind that is because the day before everybody started talking Casey Rogers, Swain was talking him up big time. And then he was kind of joking about it the next day. I think Swain has some connections to Casey Rogers through somebody. And for him to say that he would almost go out 100% and say it's either Al Washington or Casey Rogers makes me think that Casey Rogers is pretty dang close to signing that contract.
Yeah, that very well may end up being the case there. I just wish that we could hurry up and just get, if it is him, that's who that we can get, and get this staff, the rest of the staff laid out. They can start recruiting. I don't think that there's any doubt that we're behind as far as the recruiting goes. Again, this 2022 in-state class is so talented. And I'm just afraid that if we don't have a complete staff, and again, I'm not saying that we just need to rush and just hire anybody whatsoever, but at the same time, I mean, I think that you do have to have some sense of urgency with this. I mean, we're already looking at the middle of February. I'm assuming that spring practice should start, about probably about a month from now. So we need to get these coaches in, and so they can start game planning and looking at this roster.
Yeah, and something about, I get it. Josh Heupel's only been on the job a couple of weeks, but when we're saying that timing is crucial, it's like JP just said, they're missing out on recruiting. Look, this offensive staff is in place. We're not really going to go in depth with that, but they did hire Jerry Mack, the Rice offensive coordinator, to come in and coach running backs. So you've got Jerry Mack coaching running backs. You've got Joey, I still don't know how to say these names, Hazel coaching quarterbacks, Cody Burns, wide receivers, Alex Golish, tight ends, and also co-offensive coordinator, and then Glenn Ellerby coaching the offensive line. And like you touched on earlier, these guys are in the office, and they are breaking down film of our current roster to try to get a grasp of what they're working with. And that's what we need this defensive staff to come in and do. I think the Al Washington thing really set Tennessee back because he spent so much time thinking about it. They should have given him a timetable and said, hey, if you have to sleep on it for 3 nights and you keep going back and forth, and it's not a good look. And I think that set him back. But Casey Rogers, the ball is in his court. Obviously, if it falls from him, it sounds like the head coach at Wofford, Josh Conklin, is in play. I don't know a whole lot about him. Swain was praising him pretty heavy this morning. He was a safeties coach at Tennessee in 2012. Swain was saying that back then he had a lot of hype behind him as a young up-and-comer. But since leaving there, he had a couple of stints as a defensive coordinator at Pitt and Florida International. But the big thing everybody's talking about is his ties to Memphis and recruiting.
Yeah, I think Conklin could be a pretty good hire. It'd be interesting with the timing with that. I know we were texting there, I think, last night, and Indy Kid brought up the fact of, Wofford's season starts next week.
Yeah.
Because they're playing that spring. So that's going to be interesting there. If it is end up being Josh Conklin, you talk about just up and leaving your alma mater and your players and the rest of your coaches kind of in very, very limbo, leaving them basically a week or less before your season is to even begin. Certainly something that's unprecedented. Of course, nobody imagined that we would be playing college football in February either. So obviously this is a unique challenge and a unique time with all the COVID stuff, but still just makes me wonder, Boogie, if that ultimately doesn't end up playing into whether or not Conklin, if it does come down to him, I don't know. It might be tough for him to just to do that to the school that he played at and is currently the head coach at, for sure.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I said right before we started the video, I think that if Casey Rogers turns it down and it falls to him, I think he takes it. But, you bring up good points. So we'll see. This video is going up. It's pretty early in the morning. We'll get it uploaded. And I know the Indie Kid said something about putting out a video later tonight. We'll see. We'll continue to follow the news. If anything breaks, we'll try to keep you guys updated. I appreciate everybody being patient with us last night during the Wrestling Council. We had a fun show. And I appreciate you guys understanding that is a part of this channel. I know there was some confusion from a lot of the new subscribers, but hey, I appreciate you guys understanding that that's what we do on Thursday nights. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Smash that thumbs up on the way out the door. I know I say it every single video, but it does help this channel. So hit that thumbs up. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of this defensive coordinator situation. Is it going to be Casey Rogers? And also, how excited are you that Rodney Garner is back in Knoxville? But again, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I want to say thanks one last time. We hit 5,000 subscribers yesterday afternoon. So thank you to every single person that has supported this channel. Whether you
thank you.
Whether you were the 5,000th or you were the 30th, we appreciate your support. For Vols JP, I'm Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
How like me, poets sat in our chains, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken past this inundated orb that we draw home, and it's night and I'm alone and I'm alone.